Welcome back, everyone. Today we have something truly bone-chilling to discuss. Today we're diving into one of Japan's most spine-chilling urban legends, the Teke-Teke. This story has been passed down through generations, and it never fails to send shivers down the spine of anyone who hears it. Brace yourselves for some truly terrifying facts. The Teke-Teke is not just any ghost story. It's a tale of vengeance and horror that will leave you questioning every shadow you see. This is the kind of story that will make you want to sleep with the lights on. Imagine hearing a faint scratching sound in the middle of the night, only to realize it's the Teke-Teke coming for you. We're talking about a vengeful spirit, guys, a real nasty piece of work. The Teke-Teke is said to be the ghost of a young woman who met a tragic end, and now she roams the night seeking revenge. And the worst part? It's said to haunt train stations at night, preying on unsuspecting victims. If you're ever waiting for a train alone, you might just hear her dragging herself towards you. So, if you ever find yourself in Japan after dark, remember the story you're about to hear. The Teke-Teke is not just a myth. Many claim to have seen her, and their stories are eerily similar. You just might want to hail a cab instead of taking the train. Better safe than sorry, right? After all, it's better to be cautious than to become another victim of this terrifying legend. Trust me on this one. The Teke-Teke is not something you want to encounter. Stay safe, and always be aware of your surroundings, especially when you're alone at night. Okay, so picture this. Japan, post-World War II. The country is in ruins. The aftermath of the bombings has left cities in shambles, and the people are trying to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. The country's rebuilding, people are trying to move on, but there's this underlying sense of unease, you know? It's like a shadow that lingers over everything, a constant reminder of the horrors they've endured. Like things are different now. The streets are filled with people, but there's a heaviness in the air, a collective grief that seems to weigh everyone down. And in the midst of all this, there's this young woman. She's a part of the crowd, yet she stands out, her sadness almost palpable. Some stories say she was a student, others say she was a young wife. Maybe she was both, trying to juggle her studies and her new life as a wife in a world that had been turned upside down. But they all agree on one thing. She was beautiful, absolutely stunning. Her beauty was the kind that turned heads, the kind that made people stop and stare. But life wasn't kind to her. She was deeply unhappy. Maybe it was the loss of a loved one, or the pressure of living up to everyone's expectations. Or perhaps it was something even darker, something that gnawed at her soul. Maybe it was a broken heart. Maybe it was something darker, the kind of darkness that consumes you from the inside, leaving you feeling hollow and lost. Whatever it was, it drove her to the edge. She found herself standing on the precipice of despair, teetering on the brink of oblivion. One cold, bleak night, she found herself drawn to the local train station. It was a place that held memories for her, both good and bad. The platform was deserted, the only sound the wind whistling through the tracks. It was as if the world had forgotten this place, just as it had forgotten her. It was like something out of a horror movie, you know? The kind of scene that sends chills down your spine. And then it happened. She either jumped or fell onto the tracks. The details are murky, lost to the fog of time and the whispers of those who claim to know the truth. Either way, she didn't stand a chance. The oncoming train, a speeding bullet of steel, sliced through the night and through her. The oncoming train, a speeding bullet of steel, sliced her in half. The impact was brutal, the kind of violence that leaves a mark on the very fabric of reality. Now here's where the story takes that terrifying turn. They say that the pain, the shock, the sheer horror of it all, it twisted her soul. They say that the pain, the shock, the sheer horror of it all, it twisted her soul. It was as if the violence of her death had imprinted itself on her very essence, warping her into something otherworldly. She became a vengeful spirit, a yokai, doomed to eternally crawl on her elbows, her torso dragging along the ground. Her beauty, once her defining feature, was now a grotesque reminder of her tragic end. And the sound? Oh God, the sound! They call her Teke-Teke because of the sound her elbows make as she drags herself along the pavement. Teke-Teke-Teke. They call her Teke-Teke because of the sound her elbows make as she drags herself along the pavement. Teke-Teke-Teke. It's a sound that haunts the night, a chilling reminder of her presence. Imagine hearing that in the dead of night. But it gets worse. The sound is just the beginning, a prelude to the horror that follows. They say she carries a scythe, or maybe a sickle. Some say it's even a rusty saw. Each version of the story adds its own twist, but the outcome is always the same. And if she catches you alone at night, well, let's just say you won't have to worry about hearing that Teke-Teke ever again. Her weapon of choice is as deadly as her intent. They say she'll slice you in half just like she was sliced. The violence of her death is mirrored in the violence she inflicts on her victims. She's looking for revenge, you see. Revenge against a world that wronged her, a world that left her broken and alone, looking to inflict the same pain she felt on anyone foolish enough to cross her path. Her vengeance is indiscriminate, a blind rage that seeks to destroy. Now, some people say the Teke-Teke was once a human, driven mad by her own tragic end, her humanity stripped away by the horror of her death. Others say she's a demon, drawn to the scent of fear and despair, a creature of the night, born from the darkest corners of the human psyche. But whatever she is, one thing's for sure. The Teke-Teke is a terrifying reminder that some wounds, some pain, it never truly heals. It lingers, festers, and transforms into something monstrous. It just festers, turning into something monstrous, a manifestation of the pain and suffering that refuses to be forgotten. So the next time you're walking home alone at night and you think you hear something dragging behind you, remember the story of the Teke-Teke. Remember the pain that gave birth to her and the vengeance that drives her. And for God's sake, don't look back, because if you do, you might just see her, and by then, it will be too late. So you think this is just some spooky story, huh? A tale spun to give you chills and make you jump at shadows? Something to tell around a campfire to scare your friends? A harmless bit of fun to make the night more thrilling? Well, let me tell you, there are people in Japan who swear on their lives that they've encountered the Teke-Teke. They speak of her with a mix of fear and reverence, as if mentioning her name might summon her. They say she haunts train stations, lurking in the shadows, waiting for her next victim. The dimly lit platforms and the echoing silence make the perfect hunting ground for her. Some say she prefers to prey on young people, especially those who are alone and vulnerable. The innocence and naivety of youth make them easy targets for her relentless pursuit. There are stories of school children walking home late at night, hearing that telltale Teke-Teke sound behind them, the rhythmic, haunting noise that sends shivers down their spines. They turn around and there she is, bathed in the eerie glow of the streetlights, her eyes burning with a cold, vengeful fire. Her presence is both mesmerizing and terrifying, a ghostly figure that seems to float just above the ground. They say she's incredibly fast, almost inhumanly so. Her speed defies logic, making her an unstoppable force of nature. You might think you can outrun her, but you can't. No matter how fast you run, how desperately you try to escape, she will always be right behind you. She'll catch you, and when she does, well, let's just say it won't be pretty. Her vengeance is swift and brutal, leaving no room for mercy. There's this one story, it still freaks me out just thinking about it. It's a tale that has been passed down through whispers and hushed conversations. It's about this guy, a businessman, working late one night. He was the kind of person who always stayed late at the office, trying to get ahead in his career. He decides to take a shortcut through a park. You know, save some time. Big mistake. The park was known for its eerie atmosphere, especially at night. He's walking along, minding his own business, when he hears it. Teke-Teke, Teke-Teke. The sound is faint at first, almost like a distant echo. He stops, his heart pounding in his chest. The sound grows louder, more insistent, as if it's coming closer with each passing second. He turns around slowly, and there she is, just a few feet away. Her eyes lock onto his, and he feels a chill run down his spine. He tries to run, but it's too late. His legs feel like lead, and he can barely move. She lunges at him, her scythe slicing through the air. The sound of the blade cutting through the night is deafening. He screams, but it's cut short as she cuts him down, right there in the middle of the park. His life ends in a flash of pain and terror. They found his body the next morning, sliced clean in half, just like the legend said. The sight was gruesome, a stark reminder of the horrors that lurk in the night. The police tried to write it off as some kind of animal attack, but everyone knew the truth. The Teke-Teke had struck again, leaving her mark on the world. The Teke-Teke had claimed another victim. Her legend continues to grow, fueled by fear and the unknown. And the thing is, it's not just Japan. The stories have spread far and wide, crossing oceans and continents. There have been sightings of the Teke-Teke all over the world. From bustling cities to quiet villages, her presence is felt everywhere. Some say she's drawn to places of tragedy, places where there's been a lot of pain and suffering. These locations seem to call out to her, beckoning her to come and claim more souls. So the next time you're walking alone at night and you think you hear something dragging behind you, remember the stories. Remember the victims. The Teke-Teke is always watching, always waiting. And whatever you do, don't stop running. Because once she sets her sights on you, there's no escape. The Teke-Teke will find you, and when she does, you'll wish you had never heard her name. And there you have it, folks. The Teke-Teke is not just a story, but a chilling reminder of how legends can haunt us. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more spine-tingling tales. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes open.